Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Hairdressers Journal Goes Live. I'm Eleanor Balsden, Deputy Editor at Hairdressers Journal, and we have a really exciting live demonstration lined up for you today. I'm delighted to be joined by Grant Williams, Key Account Educator for GHD, for our first live of 2022. Grant will be showing you how you can get ahead of the curve with the new GHD Curve Thin Wand, and you can enjoy quick styling time and a long-lasting curl definition with no extreme heat. Welcome, Grant. How are you?
Hi, I'm really good, thank you. It's really nice to sort of be here and sort of introduce everyone to our latest innovation, the wand. I'm really excited for this launch, actually. It's been a product that I've been waiting for ages, and I think a lot of hairdressers and people in the trade are really going to be thinking the same. So I'm really excited to showcase this to you today and show you what it can do.
Can't wait to see it. And for anyone who has any questions while we're watching, please do send in any burning questions that you have, because we'll have some time at the end to go through any questions that you have. But without any further ado, I'll hand over to you, Grant.
Cool. So as we've already said, we're going to be showing you today our newest innovation, which is the GHD Thin Wand. So as you can see, the barrel is a lot thinner than our other curve range, which is really exciting because it's going to allow us to get these amazing bouncy curls and this definition that you can see that we've already started to create. So we have gone through and prepped the hair already. I wasn't going to do a whole head for you today, but we've left this top section, which we're going to go through and show you the technique that we're using. And we're going to just talk you through our sectioning pattern as well. And then I'll show you how we're going to dress this out. So, first of all, I'm just going to spin us around here so we can just show you from the back. So you can see already where we've got this amazing sort of straight hair. We've got quite a lot of hair as well. But bringing the hair to the back, what we've done is we've split down the middle. We've then worked into V-shaped diagonal sections. And we're all alternating our rows of curl direction as well. So one row, we're going in one direction towards the base, and the next row, we're going away. So it just allows us, when we dress this out, it's going to allow the curl to look really natural and really bouncy without creating too much of that frizz that sometimes you can see when you start to put a lot more movement in. Let's just spin you back around again. So we've then gone through from our sort of crown down to the ears, putting that radial section in, and then we're doing diagonal sort of forward sections through the front half as well. Sort of leaving us now with a little bit of a triangle section through the top, which we're now going to go through and curl. And we're curling this well and actually over to the other side. But when we dress this out, we're going to flip it. So we're going to get a lot more body, a lot more movement coming through all of our sort of hair here through that top section. So I'm going to get on and start going through with these sections just on our hair. And one of the products that I've used today is actually what we'd always recommend whenever you're using a GHD curve, and that is our Curly Ever After spray. Now, this spray can go onto dry hair. It's what we call a power couple with our curve range, because what it really does is actually doubles our curl, doubles the curl hold. So it makes those curls last 2 times longer. So with the thin wand, what it's going to do is actually give us about 48 hours of curl hold. So really amazing bounce and movement that's going to last in the hair. So I'm just going to take that through, putting this on sort of row by row so that we're making sure that each section is getting that product on. Just going to work from a little bit of a distance and mist that product all the way through. I like to just do a couple underneath as well, make sure that both sides of the section have got that product in. And then just give it a little comb through. Now just make sure that all of that product is nicely distributed all the way through the hair towards the ends. Perfect.
It's a really exciting launch for GHD. Could you tell us a little bit about the USPs of the products and what kind of looks that you can unlock with this tool?
Of course. So obviously this is going to be one of them. It's going to be that transformation look. So going from quite straight hair, we can now put in so much more movement. And it's really going to last, and it's really going to give us that sort of wow factor. So that's one way that we could use it. Another way I really like to use it is actually creating a little bit more of a Hollywood wave. So this is going to be quite a textured look. But if we're wanting something that's more Hollywood, we could curl all in the same direction and then really dress it out with like an oval dressing brush and get those really nice polished Hollywood waves. So that would be one other way that we could do this. What we could also do is actually go through and actually use it to define sort of naturally textured hair. So where you've got that natural curl pattern in the hair already, we might just want to put a little bit more definition in, polish off a couple of curls. Sometimes with sort of natural texture, the hair doesn't always sit sort of an even curl pattern all the way through. So just using a thin wand, we can just go through and redefine some of those pieces of hair that we need to. So that's another way that we're really using this tool. And I think it's probably one of the best ways to use it as well. So I'm just going through, just showing you. I might actually just spin us around and come around this side. I might just be able to show you a little bit easier. So I'm just doing a twist wrap technique. So we're just taking our section, pinching it with our fingers, placing it on the thin one near the root, and I'm just gliding my hands down the section of hair and then just wrapping it around the barrel. Now, because we're not letting go of the section, we're going to get that really nice twist in the hair, which when we dress this out is going to give us that really nice natural curl, natural textured wave in the hair. So that's really the technique that we're using here. And I'm just, as we said earlier, alternating our rows. So this row here, I'm going to be taking away from the face. My next row, I'm then going to take towards the face. One thing as well is because we've got this amazing long hair, the wand actually is 38% longer than our other GHD curve range. So it just means that we can get more hair on here. So we're obviously curling the hair a lot smaller in sort of like the curl pattern. So we do need that extra little bit of length just to define any length of hair really. So that's another really good point to sort of think about when we're using this wand.
That's a really handy feature, isn't it? Because you don't want to run out of end at the end of it.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like if you've got really long hair and you're doing curls this tight, you don't want to have to do sort of the root section, then go on and do the ends afterwards. You want to be able to do it all in one. So that's the great thing about this, is that we can get all of that hair on there. It makes it so much easier.
Amazing. It really is so quick. And how long would it take you to do a whole head of hair using the thin styler?
So I think it does come down to the section sizes, as with anything. Like you can push your section sizes with the thin wand and it's going to still give you amazing definition and sort of movement. But I'd say, maybe this is sort of taking me today, I think all in total, we're probably looking at about sort of 45 minutes, but I'm taking like really small sections. And as you said, if you're in the salon, we can take a lot larger sections. And if I was doing something like this, I would normally define a few sections through the top that are a little bit smaller, just so you can see a little bit more definition, and start to push those sections through the underneath, where we're not going to need as many small sort of pieces of hair. So it doesn't really take that long. And actually, each section actually only needs to be held on the wand for about 3 seconds. So again, it's a lot quicker than sort of other sort of tongs and wands. So it's really fast at styling as well.
Super fast and great if you're, you've got a chock-a-block day in the salon.
Exactly, yeah, which I'm sure we're all having at the moment. So really nice and quick, just wrapping all of that hair around, holding it on for a few seconds, and you can see like literally those few seconds has given us that curl, and it's really bouncing through the hair really nicely. Cool. So I'm just going to keep on going through these top sections. I'm just now come over the other side, but I'm now curling in the opposite direction. just so that we can get, again, these alternating rows. So when we dress this out, it's really going to come through the hair really nicely. Oh.
And from a client point of view, what are kind of some of the benefits of the styler for them?
I think really it's going to be, as you said earlier, if you've got a client that really does want to transform their look, it's going to be great. It's really quick, which is going to be really, really great for them because clients don't want to be spending loads of time doing their hair. And also I find as well that my clients that have sort of used this normally maybe do have a little bit more of a natural movement in their hair, some of them, and they really like to sort of go through and define it. And I think that's the type of client that is really going to really love it. It's either going to be someone that wants to switch up their look and change it loads, or wants to just define some of their hair. So just depending on who you've got in your chair, really, it really could be for anyone.
It looks like it's really versatile, depending like whether you have long hair, short hair, textured hair, straight hair. It looks like, you know, it's a great tool for all of those.
Definitely, yeah, 100%. And I think one, because the barrel's so small, it's great for short hair, as you were saying, but then because it's also so long, you can really style long hair with it as well. So it's really either way that you're sort of wanting to style. So I'm just on my last row now, and I'm just going through and just finishing this off. Again, just keeping on twist wrapping, holding it on just for a few seconds. And the great thing about the thin wand is that this has actually been developed with something called PTC heater technology. So what this is going to do for us is actually still working with our sensing sort of sensor technology inside, where it's got one individual sensor that actually works up the whole sort of barrel. So it's still monitoring and detecting that temperature. And as with all GHD tools, it's set at our amazing 185 optimum styling temperature. So it means that we can get this amazing movement in, but without causing any sort of excess damage or anything like that. So really still caring for the hair while giving us that best sort of style, and also that longevity that we were talking about earlier, still getting that 48 hours of co-hold.
Amazing. I can see people in the comments saying how handy it is to have that extra long wand. Lots of people, I think, run out of room at the end, don't they?
Definitely, yeah. And there's nothing worse than running out of room when you're trying to curl someone's hair. So it does really help. I've just done this last piece here. Pop that out. Oh. So that is all of our hair curled now. So as you can see, it's really nice and sort of tight. It's sort of like those nice ringlet curls. I obviously really want to dress this out. Definitely we need to go through and sort of get through, break this up a little bit, probably start to expand it as well and create a little bit more movement and texture. Now, so many people do these all in different ways. I really love to start off with just sort of more shaping and massaging the roots. This is going to break up those section patterns, start to blend everything together at the roots, just start to break up some of these sections as well. And then we can start to go through with like a wide tooth comb and start breaking it up even more, maybe adding a tiny bit of back comb in there just to sort of work, like widen the sort of style and give us a lot more movement sort of working through. So I'm going to start going through and doing that. But first of all, I'm just going to pop a tiny bit of dramatic ending just onto my hands. It's just going to help to deposit that through the hair as we're dressing it out, and then just reduce any sort of flyaways or frizz while we're doing this as well. So we still get that really nice glossy, bouncy curl that we're sort of seeing. A tiny bit on. I always work this onto the sort of fronts and the backs of my hands, because really when you're getting your hands in, like all of your hands are inside, this is going to make sure that the product distributes really nicely as well. And then you don't get that sort of little pool of product that sort of sometimes can sit in the palm of your hand. So it just makes sure it's nice and evenly distributed throughout. Okay, so I'm just going to turn it to the side slightly and just get you to slightly pop your head over forward. I'm just going to come through and just start to break these curls up. Just use my hands, shake the roots out, massage all of those sections together. And this is just going to really, just as we said, break this up and start to make it feel a little bit more natural. We've all seen those curls in the past where they're not brushed out at all. And I think with something like this, we really do need to brush them out and make it feel nice and natural. So just continuing through, giving it a little shake, just using our hands, just through, and just break that up to start with. So once we've done that, and feel like we've massaged all of those sections together, I'm just going to start to come in with my wide tooth comb. Now, products-wise, when I'm dressing this out, we've already used a tiny bit of our dramatic ending, the serum, which is sort of still on our hands. I'm also going to use a tiny bit of shiny over after as well. I like to actually apply this to the comb. So apply this onto your wide tooth comb, a little mist onto the hair, but then we're just going to use this to start to dress some of this out from underneath, okay? So dress out your underneath layers, just while the head's forward. Just putting that forward. Sometimes I even take some of these sections and sort of break it back up a little bit, and then use your comb just to sort of tease in at the roots and push that style back in. So one of the things with defined curls like this is that if we just sort of brush them out, they can start to fall together throughout the day. So what I do find a really good tip is actually just putting a tiny bit of a tease in there, one at the root for a little bit of extra volume, but also then just pushing it back throughout the section as well. Just being really light with it. And you can just start to break that sort of texture up. And as you can see, we're really starting to build that out so much more, and it's giving us that really nice soft sort of movement. So I'm just gonna finish brushing through some of these ends, just like that. And then I'm just gonna do this back section as well. This is probably one of my favorite tools to use for dressing out is a wide tooth comb. I think it's so versatile. You can do so many different things with it. But I think especially for this type of style, it works really well. And I find even just giving the hair a little shake again and sort of lifting it can really start to bring the curl back in. So you can see it sort of start bouncing back up and pull bits out. So start to tease them back in, so we're getting this amazing texture sort of building throughout the hair.
It's looking amazing. And if you do have any questions for Grant, please do pop in your comments on Zoom or Facebook, and we'll make sure we get to those at the end. How would you go about retailing this in the salon, Grant?
So I think retailing, it's always making sure that you understand who your sort of client is and what they're looking for. So if you've got someone that loves to switch their hair up and sort of spend their time sort of doing their hair, then this is going to be a really great tool for them. But if you have got someone that doesn't really do too much with their hair, then maybe, again, this could really work for them if they've got more of that natural curl in their hair. So they might just want to be able to leave their hair quite natural, see their natural movement, and then just touch it back up. So you could really talk about it to either of those client types. But my main thing is definitely get it into their hand. Now, I think this is something that sometimes a lot of hairdressers sort of worry about getting a tool into their client's hand, but it's one of the best ways to actually sort of convert someone from just sort of thinking about buying something to actually then making that purchase. So show them how to do it. It's all about education. If you show your clients how to use the tool, how to get the best out of it, and make sure that they can do it themselves, they're so much more likely to actually then get that purchase. So that's something really to sort of try out, is getting them to sort of play around with it themselves. Then you need to do a few sections. Like if you're doing a whole head of this, you could get them to do a couple of sections just near the front, and then you still do the rest. But they feel like they've done something towards that style, and they feel like they can then recreate it. So that's really probably one of the key things that I would suggest.
Amazing. It looks fantastic seeing that volume coming out in the hair. Could you remind us what products you used that you've paired with the styler?
Yeah, of course. So your main product today was our curly over after. So that is like your prep product. So we've gone through, we've used that on the hair when it's dry, misting it on row by row. And this is going to give you your full heat protection because it's got our heat protection system inside. But then also it's got like an elastic curl hold to it. So really good for making those curls sort of last in the hair, gives us 48-hour curl hold and helps us sort of bounce these curls back into place. And as you can see, even after I'm dressing out, these curls are really bouncing up into the hair and we're getting that really soft, amazing texture. We have then gone through and dressed the hair out, then with a little bit of the dramatic ending, which is our serum. Just use that on your hands, just so you can sort of start playing with the hair, and then also using a tiny bit of the Shiny Ever After Shine Spray, which I'll just put a tiny bit more on now, just through these front bits. And we're going to start dressing out this front half now. Thanks. Okay. As we were saying, just go through with your wide tooth comb. And you can really see that texture and movement starting to come out, and it's sort of growing with the sort of dressing out as well, which I really love. I think if we're doing this, we're going for an impact. It's like that very impactful look that's so just dressing through here. And I think with something like this, like take your time with the dress out. It's with anything. Like the more time that you spend on your dress out, I think the better it's going to look. Don't just sort of try and dress it all out in one. Go through, break the style up. Start to pull pieces of the hair out and work with the whole head. Sort of by breaking it down really, rather than just trying to do everything at once. And it does really help just give us that really nice final finish. It brings everything together.
It's looking amazing. What other ways would you potentially dress out the hair once you've done the styling? Are there any other ways that you could get a different look by the way you dress it out?
Yeah, so as we were talking about earlier, where we were where you could come through and do like a really nice Hollywood wave with this, which is a really great style, and it's something that I've really enjoyed sort of with the thin one actually creating. For me, I would work on a bit more of diagonal sections, but curl everything in the same way. So you could do both sides coming back. You could do all the way around the head, which will give you a bit more of like that classic Hollywood wave, where one side could be tucked behind the ear. So there's those two different options. But really then when you're coming into your dress out, I'd really come in with maybe more of an oval dressing brush and hairspray. Sort of start to brush the hair through, really, really dressing it. And I find that the more you dress that style, the better it looks. You know, sometimes you don't need to dress styles as much, and they do look really nice. But with that one, just keep on brushing. I think when you feel like you're getting there with the brushing, keep on going. and it will just start to really fall nicely into a really soft, sort of Hollywood, very polished, quite glam sort of finish. So that's another way that I'd dress this out. Sometimes as well, actually, just coming through, and if say you were working with hair that's already naturally textured, and you just want to then dress out these extra curls that you put in, actually just pulling each individual ones out, you can split them, so it sort of breaks them up. You could also use your hand and just slightly push them back, which I was just doing there. And you can see there, it really breaks that individual curl up. It makes it look a lot more natural and gives us that really nice bouncy finish. That's another way that you can dress it out as well. So there's quite a few different ways that you can sort of do this. And you can see here that this hair has just grown so much more. I'm just going to finish dressing out this front bit, and then we're just going to go through and just finish personalizing. Still with here, I'm still just going through with this white tooth comb. Just brush that out. And I'm wanting a little bit more volume. As we said earlier when we were talking about this top section, we have gone through and sort of curled it from the opposite side. So this part here is from the opposite side. So it's going to give that a little bit more lift, but I'm wanting a bit more of like that nice sort of quiffed finish. So I'm just going to go through and just use my wide tooth comb. Just come in just a tiny bit more, like a little bit of back comb, just in at the roots. Just to pad this up, just give us a little bit more lift through here. Just a little bit. You see that nice little bit of lift there. And then we can start to finish this off. And dress this backwards. How's that looking in the camera? Can you see?
It looks amazing. The volume there is incredible, isn't it? Just gives it so much movement as well.
Yeah, there's just so much. It's just, you can just get so much movement with this. And that's what I love about it, is that we started off with completely straight hair, and you can see how much of a transformation this has made.
Looks absolutely amazing. If you, we've had a question on Facebook. If you have a client who has perhaps 4C textured hair, would that be something that would work for them, this kind of styler?
Yeah, definitely. So I think when you get into like those sort of like 4C sort of textures, you'll probably find that this is going to, in some ways, soften the texture a little bit, because it's going to define it into more of a curl. So you won't get that sort of like sort of coily texture from this. So it's going to soften it into a nice curl. But I think it works perfectly, and it can look really amazing. So I would really say any texture of hair, this is still perfect. But also just give it a go, just play around with it. It's a really nice product to sort of try out on those sort of textured hairstyles.
Amazing, such a versatile tool.
Oh. So I'm just coming through. Just on the side that we've got our parting, I really want to just sort of bring this back a little bit. So I'm just going to use a tiny bit of hairspray. We're just going to use this now on the sort of hairline here. Just bring this back with our wide tooth comb. A little bit of spray there. Just hold that there. That will just help that sort of stay in place. And then we can just sort of finalize sort of dressing that out. So I think that's quite nice. That's what I'm quite liking at the moment, seeing a bit more width, I think, in styles. I don't know about everyone else.
Looks fantastic. It's really created an amazing shape, hasn't it? Especially at the root.
Definitely.
And what other styles or trends for 2022 can you create with this tool? Is there anything that you're enjoying creating using this styler?
Yeah, so obviously this is going to be one of the biggest things, I think. I think we've spent so much time in sort of lockdown. We've spent a lot of time, this has been coming in from last year, I think, and we've seen people sort of sticking with their sort of one style. They've grown their hair out a little bit. And I think having something like this that is now able to actually transform the look so much more, I think people are going to want to start playing around with their hair a lot more. So for something like this, it's, as you said earlier, it's that transformation. And I think people are ready to have that transformation and sort of seeing themselves in a sort of a different way. So getting something like this, it's going to be a little bit more exciting. They can get a lot more from it. And just sort of seeing big hair as well. I think big hair is definitely on its way back in. We've seen these waves for so long, which is a little bit more of a leaner shape. But I think coming through as something like this is definitely going to be something that we will start seeing a lot more in the coming months and this year.
Amazing, it's looking brilliant. If you do have any other final questions for Grant, please do send them in, as we'll have some time towards the end to go through those.
Well, I'm just sort of finishing off. I'm just really quite happy with how this is looking now. Just getting a tiny bit more hairspray just in this top section, just holding it up with your fingers. I quite like just using your hands and actually just putting these little channels in with your hands and putting hairspray onto them, because that still looks a little bit more natural rather than seeing it all sort of blended together. And you can see we get amazing lift just through there, just by doing that. And that's sort of what I'm really wanting to see. So that is our sort of look from today. So really bouncy, amazing curls, really soft. Like you can feel the hair now. It's really touchable. Like you can feel like it's got this amazing softness to it, but you can see that there's also an amazing amount of hold in there as well, because this stuff, I feel like this is definitely going to last us for quite a while today. And you'll be able to see these curls coming through quite a lot. But yeah, so that is sort of our finished look from today's session with our thin wand. So let's have a quick little recap. So what we've done today is we started off with completely straight hair. We've gone through with our curly ever after spray to prep the hair. We've then gone through with the thin wand. We've worked on sort of more diagonal sections in the back, coming back into the middle, but then we've alternated our rows. So this allows us to get this amazing texture, but allows the curls to sort of flow as well. So I find that that's a lot better to get this more natural feel in the hair. What you could also, what we then did is diagonal again through the front sections, finishing off in a little bit more of a triangle section through the top, which we then styled on the other side and flipped over. That's what is going to give us this nice sort of volume and this movement through the front. Again, still alternating our rows, using a twist wrap technique with our thin wand, and dressing out then with our wide tooth comb and a tiny bit of our shine spray as well. So that shiny ever after is really great for curls. So it just still leaves them looking really nice and glossy and amazing. But also can just help tame down any of those little flyaways as well that we might see. So just popping this through, just through the ends and sort of lifting the hair, letting it sort of fall through. That can really help as well with sort of finalising that curl pattern with that shine spray. Amazing. Oh, and that is our sort of final look today.
Looks absolutely amazing. I'm dying to try it out and recreate that.
I think you'll look amazing with it. I think everyone will look amazing with this hair. This is like my favourite kind of hair, just big and bouncy and amazing.
Really amazing. We've got some time now for some final questions before we end. Sharon would like to know how much would this retail for in the salon?
So obviously retailing in salon will come down to the individual salons. So it's all sort of recommended retail pricing. this would all have to be discussed with your sort of business development manager at GHD, so they'll be able to sort of tell you all the prices and everything like that.
Amazing. And we've got time for a few more questions, so please do send any that you have for Grant, and let us know in the comments if you love this look. How would you go about maybe on second day hair with this? Would you go back in with the styler again to refresh?
You know what, I would see how it's looking. If you're happy with how it's starting to drop, if it is, you could just pick up a few pieces, maybe around the front if you just want to redefine. Sometimes as well, when I've sort of seen this the next day, it really actually still looks amazing. I wouldn't even feel like you need to touch it up. Just depends on your hair type, I guess. But literally just pick up a few pieces, even if it's just through this top part here, maybe a few around the front. You can just redefine it and see just sort of quite visually of like what you feel like needs to be done. Amazing stuff. That brings us towards the end of today's session, but thank you so much, Grant, for showing us an amazing look. It looks absolutely amazing. Absolutely love it. Amazing. I love this as well, but glad you guys love it, and I hope that it's sort of showing you a really good way of using the new thin wand to create this amazing bouncy sort of lioness hair, as I like to call it. Absolutely, lioness hair. It looks absolutely incredible. Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you. Bye. Thanks, guys.